If you have ever walked out of a cinema because the film was so bad, what one was it? Oh, I remember vividly. It was Battlefield Earth. The shot angles kept being tilted this way and that for no reason, and I started tilting my head so that things would be level. Then my friend joined in. Then we simultaneously were like, are we going to cram our necks for this? And walked out. Way back in the 70s, the movie Freaks, 1932, was re-released due to being banned in America for 40 years. My dad, my brother-in-law and myself went to see it. My dad is an extremely straight-laced, no humor type of guy, and we couldn't figure out why he wanted to see it. It was pretty wild for my dad, but he made it through it. However, the second feature, a horror film called Private Parts, 1972, not Howard Stern's movie, was a bit much for Dad. During a scene where the main character was fucking an inflatable doll full of water and injecting it with blood drawn from a victim, my dad stood up and said in a loud voice, "This is disgusting." And he walked out. My brother-in-law was right behind him. My brother and myself sat there laughing for about another 5 minutes before we got up and left. They were waiting out front for us, and Dad says he was only going to wait another minute before leaving and we would have had to walk home. I've never walked out of a movie, and I saw Cats opening weekend. My parents took me and my sister to see a cool-looking superhero movie when we were kids. That movie was Watchmen. My parents pulled us out after the big blue penis scene. Edit for clarification. Not to say it's a bad movie, it's one of my favorite movies. Epic movie. Wasn't epic at all. I've only ever walked out of one movie, and that was The Last Airbender, directed by M. Night Shyamalan. As a fan of the original animated series, I was excited to see a live-action adaptation, but the movie was a huge disappointment. The acting was wooden, the script was clunky, and the special effects were underwhelming. I made it about halfway through the movie before I decided that my time was better spent doing something else. It's rare for me to walk out of a movie, but The Last Airbender was just that bad. Avatar: The Last Airbender. Once we got to the montages that were all of season 1, they didn't think were worth it. It was clear this wasn't the show I loved. Green Lantern. Even Ryan Reynolds acknowledges how bad it is. I left Frozen when I was 11 because I was scared. Maui. Not the worst movie ever made, but the only movie I ever walked out of was The Butterfly Effect. I wasn't really enjoying it to begin with, but the girl who went with me had been SAD as a child by her father, so when the basement scene came on I looked at her and could tell she was petrified with PTSD, so I said, "This movie sucks, you wanna go?" And I got her out of there. Emoji Movie. Took my brothers to see it while I was babysitting. Almost committed suicide in the theater. Jack and Jill with Adam Sandler. Normally I like his movies, but not only was Jack and Jill his worst movie ever, I think it might be the worst movie I've ever seen in my life. Striptease. Burt Reynolds in boxer shorts, a cowboy hat and boots, covered in Vaseline, rubbing himself with dryer lint from Demi Moore's laundry. I do not know how that movie ends, just know that I asked for my money back on a $1 noon matinee. Jupiter Ascending. You know it was horrible when I didn't want to see more Mila Kunis. I almost walked out on Jurassic World Dominion, but my friend bought a ticket for me and was super excited about it, so I stayed just for him. I am a huge dinosaur nerd. I love Jurassic Park and am generally happy to see anything featuring dinosaurs. It doesn't happen often, so I'm not picky, just give me my big lizards, thank you. But Dominion was on a whole new level of bad. Just why? Suicide Squad 2016. The movie had really bad pacing and bland action. About halfway through we were so bored we got up and left. It was one of those movies where you're not really given much reason to care how it ends. Still stands as the only one I've ever walked on. The Love Guru. Walked out to see The Happening for the third time instead. By weird coincidence, I just walked out of Renfield earlier this evening. It's not that it was so bad, I've seen worse, but I was basically just there on a late night whim and found I was the only one in the theater. After a while I realized I really wasn't enjoying myself and didn't care that much how the movie ended, so on the off chance I was the only one keeping the employees from getting things shut down for the night, I just left. The last Jurassic whichever Wonder Woman 1984. I saw 28 Days with Sandra Bullock when I was 12 with a few friends. For some reason we thought it was related to 28 Days Later and was about zombies. We were very disappointed. Pacific Rim Uprising. Worst sequel even made. I paid so I stay. I went to see the Total Recall remake with my then GF. We walked out about 40 minutes in. We were also the only people in there. I generally just switch from trying to enjoy it to enjoying roasting the shit out of it. MST3K really gave me an amazing tolerance for bullshit cinema. I never walked out of a movie, but I was reading the Eragon series in early high school. My bestie and I waited 2 hours in a mall to see this movie cause we showed up late. I entered that theater with utmost optimism. I never would have imagined what was in store for us. It took me 2 weeks of slowly sinking into a pit of despair as I thought about the movie. The more I thought about it, the more I realized it was utter fucking trash. When I came to this conclusion, it killed any joy in the series and I stopped reading the second book midway, and I liked what I was reading. I was really looking forward to seeing what the monster soldiers looked like because I thought they were super fucking cool in the books. Instead, well, I was more than a little let down. Never walked out of a movie. The closest I came to walking out was Mortal Kombat: Annihilation. Man, what a steaming shit pile of a movie. I didn't walk out though. But someone else did. He stood up halfway through the movie, yelled out, "This movie fucking sucks," then farted loudly, and left. That man is a king today. A legend that my friends today still remember fondly. It was the fart that cemented his legend. I walked out of 28 Days Later. Not because it was bad. I was 9 years old and snuck in and it was freaking me the fuck out. Watched it years later and enjoyed it. WW 1984. My wife and I tried seeing The Aristocrats After about 20 minutes we realized that it just wasn't very enjoyable, so we left. The theater next door had just started showing a film called The Wild Parrots of Telegraph Hill so went in there instead. That turned out to be a pretty good movie. Tenet. Not because of the movie, but because of the sound quality. I'm not a native English speaker and I had a hard time understanding the dialogues. Without understanding the dialogues, it was hard to follow the story. Lady in the Water. If I saw it on a fucking airplane, I would have walked out. Only movie I've ever walked out of was The Golden Compass. Some shite about gerbils, G-Force or something. The third Transformers movie is the only movie I've ever walked out during.